Okay, so let's look at an example of the summary question. There's a good example of the summary question where all the words appear in the box. Okay, where all the words appear in a box. And then we've seen an example of when the words don't appear in the box. So now let's look at an example of when the words do appear in the box. Okay, so let's have a look at it. This is from, I believe this is from the Cambridge book number 7 or 8. I think it's number 7. But I like some of the reading passages in those books in 7 and 8. Number 9 is okay too, but I like 7, 8, and I like the new one 10, and I like the 2014 8 practice test. Those are all pretty good. I like to use those because they give you a good variety of the different questions that you might have to do. So let's take a look at it. All right. So first we have a multiple choice question, which we would do because it goes in order. Then we have a complete the sentence question, a fill the blank question, which we need to do fill in the blank question because it goes in order. And then we have our summary question. All right, so if we were doing this for the real exam, we would do our multiple choice question, we would do our fill the blank question, then we would do our summary question. And it should be a little bit easier. Now, one thing that might make it easier for you, one thing that I recommend that might be helpful to you, and I didn't say this when I gave you the explanation, but maybe I should when I gave you the strategy lesson. But one thing that might be helpful is even though you're not going to do the summary question first, go ahead and look at the keywords in the summary question: electrical charges, ionization, lasers, laser beams, controlling electrical charges. I would circle those keywords and then go and do my multiple choice and fill the blank question. And that way, when I'm doing my multiple choice and my fill the blank question, I can keep an ear out, not ear out. I can keep my eyes open for those keywords to appear, and then maybe I'll know a little bit faster. Where the information for the summary question is coming from. And also maybe I'll know also if this is a summary question where the information comes from multiple sentences or if it's a summary question where the information comes from one specific sentence. Okay? All right, so we have to, let's just keep that in mind when we're talking about it. All right, so for this one, now what's going to make it easy to find, like for number 7, like I said, we want to look and see which we have to do number 7, 8, 9, and 10 here. I think the information for number 7 might be easy to find because it has the word ionization. There's not going to be a synonym for the word ionization. All right, and laser and ionization, not going to be a problem. Number 8, we're talking about a laser and controlling electrical charges, right? And that's for number 8. That's for number 8, and number 9, which is less dangerous than using blank. All right. So let's go ahead and look and first see if we can find the word ionization. And what you have to do is you have to read the sentence where you see ionization, and then you can look and see which word in the box you would pick. All right. That's the way it works. That's the way it works in terms of reading comprehension. That's the when you have words in a box. Go read the sentence and then pick the word in the box that fits from what you just read. So let's go try and find ionization first. And what I'm doing, I don't mean to have this dead tape here, but what we're doing is we're scanning and looking for the word there it is right there. See it? Ionization. Okay. So there's ionization right there. Okay, there's ionization. And so that gives me a good idea of where we should be starting from. All right, so let's take a look at it and see if we can start filling in some of these blanks. Now, another thing to be aware of also when it comes to a fill the blank question is sometimes what they'll do is they'll take information from two sentences and then in a summary combine it into one sentence. Okay? So be aware of that. Sometimes you have to read two sentences to get the information because that's something that they love to do. Because that's what summarizing is. That's what summarizing is when you really think about it, right? That's what it is. Summarizing is, taking information from multiple sentences, writing compound and complex sentences, and using adjective clauses, and creating a really good summary that really gives you a good idea of what the passage is about. So, what's key for number 7 is the word remove, because it says removing electrons from. Right, so we're looking at removing electrons from. Now, I'm always going to, for a summary question, just be aware that it could be a combination of two sentences. So here's ionization. Let's just start at the beginning and look at our topic sentence. I'm right here in this paragraph that starts with the words, the idea. The idea began some 20 years ago when high-powered lasers were revealing their ability to extract electrons out of atoms and create ions. All right, so there's our answer right there is atoms. All right, because extract means remove. Extract electrons out of atoms and create ions. If a laser could generate a line of ionization in the air all the way up to the storm cloud, so yeah, that first one is a combination of these first two sentences. The answer comes from the first sentence, and the other language that makes up the sentence comes from the second sentence. So they took information from both of these sentences and combined it together to create one sentence. But I know my answer is atoms because of the word extract. Extract means remove. Extract means remove. And so we know the answer for number 7 is we are removing electrons from atoms. So on our answer sheet, we will put B as the answer. We will put the letter B as in boy. Okay, and then for our next one, we're looking at the laser is then directed at. Right? Directed is like pointed towards. That's what the word directed means. The laser is then directed at in order to control electrical charges. So what is the laser directed at? All right. Well, here it is right here. To stop the laser itself being struck, it would not be pointed straight at the clouds. Let's see. To control electrical charges. Okay. Right, so if a laser could generate a line, here it is right here. A line, that means direction. A line of ionization in the air all the way up to a storm cloud. So our correct answer for this one would be C, okay, storm cloud, because a line is the same as saying directed at. All right, that's what that means. So the answer for number 8, would be C, storm clouds. Directed at, point a line towards, show a line towards, right? So we had our first answer, atoms, come from the first sentence. We had our next answer, storm clouds, come from the second sentence. And then for number 9, it's a method that's less dangerous than using. Less dangerous than using. So we have to find language. We have to find language that means less dangerous than. Okay, that's what we're looking, less dangerous than. Well, you know, when I look at this paragraph, I don't see anything that's talking about it being less dangerous than. I don't see any information in this paragraph that talks about dangerous or less dangerous. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So what that means is that when we look at this question, wow, what they've done here is number 8 comes from that sentence, that second sentence of the paragraph. But the next part of the sentence, a method which is less dangerous than using, that comes from a whole different paragraph. Wow. So they took information from one paragraph and took information from another paragraph and combined that into one sentence. Wow, that's tricky. That is really, really tricky. That's really, really tricky. Wow. We have to find a paragraph that talks about it being less dangerous than. Okay. I decided to look under this paragraph that says bad behavior because if it's talking about about bad behavior, that's usually talking about something negative, and I'm looking for an object that's less dangerous than a laser. All right, less dangerous. So. You know, that heading of bad behavior let me know that this is talking about what is going to be less dangerous as whatever they're talking about in these paragraphs under bad behavior is the dangerous thing. And it looks like in these two paragraphs, but while the rockets are fine for research, the rockets anyway, who would want to fire streams of rockets in a populated area? So it seems like the bad thing they're talking about is rockets. So the lasers are less dangerous than rockets. So the answer for number 9 is rockets. Wow, that is really cruel what the IELTS people are doing there. But that's what I told you. I told you that it's possible that information can come from different paragraphs. And they took information from 2 different parts and combined it together. So that means the answer for number 9 would be G. All right, number 10, as a protection for the lasers, the beams are aimed firstly at. All right, what are the beams first aimed at? What are the beams first aimed at? All right, our answer is mirror. All right, directed at, aimed at. To stop the laser, I'm starting with the sentence before so you can see that this is the answer. To stop the laser itself being struck, it would not be pointed straight at the clouds. Instead, it would be directed at a mirror and from there into the sky. So first it's going to be directed at a mirror and from there into the sky. All right, so the answer directed at is the synonym language here. Directed at for aim, firstly aimed. Aimed firstly at, directed at. Aimed firstly at, directed at a mirror. So the answer for number 10 would be mirror, which is D. Wow. So our correct answers are B, C, G, D. B, C, G, D. B, C, G, D. Okay? All right, so thanks a lot, and I hope these examples of the summary question were helpful for you. All right? I'll talk to you soon. Hello, everybody. In this lecture, I'm going to be doing a full strategy application for the summary question. This passage is coming from Book 14, Test Number 1. If you want to, you can go ahead and open up your own copy of Book 14, Test Number 1 for the general exam, and you can do this summary question before watching this lecture, and then you can check what you've done against the strategy that was applied inside of this lecture. So the purpose of this is to provide you a real passage example of how strategy is applied. Now, when it comes to the summary question, it's much easier than the academic exam. The academic exam is much more complicated in that normally for the general exam, within a summary question, you might have 3 or 4 questions. And in a academic exam, you might have 4 to 6 questions for a summary. Also, the questions have more of a possibility of going out of order in the academic exam, while in the general exam, unless the summary question is coming in passage number 3, it's most likely going to go in order. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're not going to read the passage, read the topic sentences. We're not going to waste time doing that. We're going to go directly to the summary question and apply the strategy. Now, for those of you who are looking at this in the book, you will notice that before the summary question, there is a multiple choice question, I believe. And you would probably go ahead and do that those multiple choice questions first, and then move forward with doing the summary question. However, the summary question here is really, really straightforward. I'm going to always work under the assumption that it will go in order unless I'm proved different. Unless something proves to me that that's not going to work in this situation. But like I said, on the general exam, we can pretty much count on that happening. Now, the first step, of course, is to understand that a summary question is basically the same as a fill-the-blank question. It operates under the same principles. So the blank line that you're filling, like for number 38, it comes at the end of the sentence. For number 39, it comes in the middle of the sentence. And then number 40 comes towards the end of the second sentence also. So our first step is to go ahead and identify our keywords. Now for number 38, I'm not going to highlight the word papyrus or papyrus. Papyrus? All right, so I'm not going to highlight that word because it's going to appear everywhere, right? It's not really a key word that we focus on. We have cellulose, fungal growth, which is very good. No synonym language there. And really, really important word is consumed by. The words consumed by are very, very important. The reason why is because the answer is going to connect directly to that language. Now, on the academic exam, we can count. We can pretty much count on that in the passage they're going to use synonyms. On the general exam, they may use the exact language, they may not, but we should plan for them to be able to be using synonym language. For number 38, we're looking at 5,000-year-old in Egypt. And for number 49, this word right here, number 40 is really easy to find, because this word Herculaneum is very, very easy to find, very easy to find. And for number 40, the blank line is preceded by the words a huge. That means the answer is going to connect directly to that language. So our job, now that we have our keywords identified, we're going to go ahead and move forward with locating that information. Before we do that, let me give you some really good strategy advice. As I mentioned before this summary question, I believe there is a multiple choice question that you have to do. Now, it's a really, really good idea that before you start that multiple choice question, go ahead and go through this process that I just did, where I highlighted all the keywords for 38, 39, and 40. Just highlight the keywords and put them in your mind. Then go ahead and start the multiple choice question. As you're doing the multiple choice question, keep a mental lookout for the words cellulose, fungal growth, 5,000-year-old, Herculaneum, Egypt. Keep a lookout for those words. And as you're doing the multiple choice questions and answering them, if you see any of those words, go ahead and mark where you see the words. That way, when you get to the multiple choice question, you can easily move through it. Okay? So let's go ahead and get started. We're looking for a cellulose, fungal growth, 5,000-year-old Herculaneum. All right, so let's go ahead and do a scanning process, everybody. A scanning process. As I said, if you're starting with the multiple choice question, you would have started that scanning process at that point. All right, there's 5,000 years right there, but I'm cautious. I am really hesitant about that being the keyword language for question number 39, because before that, I don't see anything about cellulose or fungal growth. And keep in mind what I told you, that on the general exam, we're going to work with the understanding that it's going to go in order. Also, we always have to be aware that many times when they're going to use really exact language, like here 5,000 years ago, whenever they're using those exact words or exact numbers, we can pretty much assume that it's going to most likely be a trap. It could easily be a trap. And what ends up happening is that students will read more than what's necessary. But when we look at this sentence, we see 5,000 years ago, but there's nothing about Egypt. So I know that can't be my sentence. I know it cannot be my sentence. Here's the word Egyptian, but there's nothing about the word Egyptian, but there's nothing about 5,000 years yet. Now here we go right here, paragraph C. Here is cellulose rich. And let's see, normally in the general exam, this information will come in one paragraph. In the
Academic exam, most of the time it comes in one paragraph, sometimes two paragraphs. There's 5,000 years old, and there's Herculaneum, right? So I already know that everything's going to be contained within paragraph C. Everything will be contained within paragraph C because I see the language there. Now let's go back to the question for a second. And it says papyrus-rich cellulose, and in some conditions will be destroyed by fungal growth or fungal growth or consumed by. So let's go back and look. In moist climates, the cellulose-rich sheets of papyrus would readily decay, becoming covered by mold. Mold is a synonym for what, everybody? Fungal growth, or full of holes from attacks by insects. Full of holes, right here, everybody. Full of holes from attacks by that language, everyone, is synonym. That language is synonym for consumed by. Right? When it says that it's full of holes by attacks, that means that that's our synonym relationship. That's what you have to recognize. You have to recognize that synonym relationship. And you have to also recognize that when they say fungal growth, that's the same as mold. There's our or right there. Right? There's our or right there. So the answer for number 38, we know the answer for number 38. Our answer is insects. Right, number 38 is insects. Now let's do number 39. However, it can survive for long periods in an environment that's dry. It has been found in a 5,000-year-old blank in Egypt. Let's read that sentence. The earliest known roll of papyrus scroll was found. Well, there's our language right there. Found in the tomb of an official called Hemeka near Memphis, which was then the capital of Egypt and is around 5,000 years old. So it was found in the is synonym for found in a same words. So everybody, our answer is tomb. Our answer is tomb. So for number 39, we would write tomb. T-O-M-B. And now in Herculaneum, many papyrus documents were preserved by following a huge. So when I go to that sentence and I search through that sentence that we're talking about, I'm looking for something connected to huge, right? And here it is right here. Catastrophic is synonym for the word huge, or paraphrasing, in a way of paraphrasing, something catastrophic is huge. Anything that's catastrophic is automatically also thought of as being huge. All right? Generally speaking. And then our answer, of course, would be eruption. Huge eruption, catastrophic eruption. So eruption is our answer choice. All right, and that will do it. That's how we apply the summary strategy to an actual passage. And the answers are insects, tomb, and eruption. Thank you very much for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. and I look forward to teaching you again in the next lecture. Take care. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me in another question strategy review. Now we're going to go ahead and look at a very difficult question for a lot of students on the IELTS reading exam. We're going to take a look at and really try to tackle the paragraph location question. So let's go ahead and get into it. So look here on the right, and you can remember and recall, what does this question look like? It always is going to say, which paragraph contains the following information? Or sometimes if you're doing the general exam, which section contains the following information? It doesn't matter if it's the general or the academic exam, the exact same question strategy. The exact same question strategy, right? Except for on one test, they may use section, and on the other, they'll use the words paragraph. But in terms of the requirements, the idea is really, really straightforward. They want you to locate the paragraph that has the information. So, for example, number 14 says, a comparison of the past and present transportation methods. So, you have to look and find which one of these paragraphs, which one of the paragraphs, A through H, which one of the sections has information that is comparing the past and the present transportation methods, right? Or for number 16, the relative merits of cars and public transport. Again, which paragraph is talking about that? Which paragraph is discussing the merits of cars and public transport? Now, vocabulary becomes very important because they're using words like merits. So if you don't know what that word means, it might cause you some pause and hesitation that can slow you down. So vocabulary is always really, really important. Or like number 18 that says the increasing use of motor vehicles. Which paragraph is talking about the increasing use of motor vehicles? Now, this question does require scanning, right? You must scan for the matching language from the question or for the question. However, there's a very difficult way to go about scanning, and there's an easier way or less difficult method of scanning. And I think after I explain this to you, you're going to understand maybe why you found this question to be so difficult in the past. Because I'm going to tell you how to make the scanning process much, much easier. Now, we have to always think about that we have to match language location. And this question can be difficult because the matching language can be from any sentence in a paragraph. Right? Now, topic sentences can be very, very helpful because topic sentences tell you what a paragraph is about. And very often, if you understand the controlling idea from the topic sentence or the first two sentences, it can help you know that that paragraph contains the information for that question. However, keep in mind, you can have one paragraph that has 8 sentences, and they may pull information from the 5th sentence in a paragraph. So it can be very, very challenging. But like I said, I'm going to tell you how to make it much easier. So this is a difficult question, a time-consuming question. So I'm always going to recommend that you do it last. Very often in a reading passage, let's say you're doing reading passage number 2, the paragraph location question is going to be mentioned first in the question set. You'll be mentioned first. So for example, the paragraph location question might be questions 15 to 19. And then questions 20 to 24 might be a fill-the-blank question. And then questions 25 to 29 could be a yes, no, not given question. So if you have it set up that way, if you have it set up that way, do not start, even though the paragraph location question is first in the set of questions. Don't do it first. Again, don't do it first. There's a reason why. If you do it first, you're about to make it really, really difficult, because the question does not go in order, and you'll be spending 10 minutes just trying to scan and wasting so much time. Do the in order questions first, then go back and do the paragraph location question. Okay? Then go back and do the paragraph location question, because that's going to give you an opportunity to read through a lot of the paragraphs, and it will give you an opportunity to note if you come across any of the key words from the paragraph location question. Because first you're going to highlight the keywords in the paragraph location question. Then you're going to go do the other question types in that set. And then when you're doing the other question types, you're going to underline or highlight if you come across any of those keywords from the paragraph location question. Then when you finish the in order question types or the other question types like a matching question, then you're going to come back to the paragraph location question. It'll be much easier, because you probably would have found half the answer choices already. Okay, so let's go over the strategy now more specifically in terms of the paragraph location question. As I said earlier, you want to first locate the keywords in the questions. This is very crucial to saving time. After you have highlighted or underlined the keywords in the questions, like here for numbers 1 through 6, then you go and do the other questions, do the in order questions or like the matching question in the set first. You're doing that because it's going to give you a great opportunity to look at the information in all the other paragraphs, because you are doing these questions that go in order. Also, you're going to keep your eyes open for any of those words that you've highlighted, any of those keywords you've highlighted in the paragraph location question. Then you're going to return to the paragraph location question, and probably you would have already found the language that might match numbers 1, 3, 4, and 5. So 4 of them you may have already been able to do right away, because you were able to note where you saw that keyword language, right? Then you're going to go ahead. Now, if you haven't found number 1 and number 6 yet, then you're going to go ahead and scan for the matching paragraphs for those questions, making sure you pay attention to topic sentences, because those could be very, very helpful for you. Match the language up, and then you would have found your answer choices. Okay? Let's go ahead and take a look at an example here, right? So in this example, we look at section A first. Look at section A first, okay? And within the first 2 sentences of section A, I can see that it belongs to question number 3. The climate of the earth is always changing. In the past, it has altered as a result of natural causes. Nowadays, however, the term climate change is generally used when referring to changes in our climate. Clearly, from the very first sentence, I know that this is really the match for number 3. So you can see how important, you can see how relevant it is to understand topic sentences. Look at section B. The greenhouse effect is very important when we talk about climate change as it relates to the gases which keep the earth warm. Already, we're talking about a greenhouse effect. This matches number 1, a natural phenomenon. We're talking about a natural phenomenon here, right? And I know that just from the topic sentence. Now, the topic sentences, it doesn't work like that 100% of the time, but I'm telling you, they're very, very helpful. But as I've told you in the past, sometimes they're going to design some of the questions where only a student that can get an 8 or 9 in reading will be able to do very well. And those are the ones when you might have a big paragraph of 8 or 9 sentences, and they'll pull a sentence from sentence number 6 or sentence number 5 in that big paragraph. And that one is more difficult to scan for. Now, section D. There are many institutions around the world whose sole priority is to take action against these environmental problems. A, clearly a match. Clearly a match for number 4. So really, sometimes a paragraph location question is very much like a headings question sometimes. Sometimes it's very much like a headings question. Very much like a headings question. Because you could look at numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they can actually be headings for these sections, right? But as I've told you, it's not always that way. The topic sentences are very helpful, but sometimes they'll pull information from the middle of a paragraph, and you need to be aware of that. You must be aware of that. Right? And here we have another example. Section A, the probability that 2 right-handed people would have a left-handed child is only about 9.5%. The chance rises to 19.5% if one parent is a lefty and 26% if both parents are left-handed. So this matches what? Where they talk about how likely one-handedness is born. This is where you're going to find that information. Section B, genetic theory is also undermined by results from Peter Hepper and his team at Queen's University in Belfast, Ireland. In 2004, the psychologists used ultrasound to show that by the 15th week of pregnancy, fetuses already have a preference as to which thumb they suck. So this one is matching number 3, right? This is where you're going to find that information. And then paragraph C. But even if these correlations were true, they did not explain what actually causes left-handedness. Furthermore, specialization on either side of the body is common among animals. So this is where you're going to find the information for number 1, preference of using one side of the body in an animal species. You see the way that works? Very often, not always, very often, this question is very similar to a headings question, okay? Very similar. Now, when I get into the next lectures and I'm showing you, how to analyze this question and scan with this question from a full reading passage, we'll come across some of the ones where the information is located in the middle of a paragraph, right? And that is going to be much more of a challenge to do. Right, here's another one. Right, here's one more. And with this one, look at paragraph D. It also seems that the neurological roots of the bilingual advantage extend to brain areas more traditionally associated with sensory processing. When monolingual and bilingual adolescents listen to simple speech sounds without any intervening background noise, they show highly similar brainstem responses. Right? So this one is more difficult, right? This is more difficult. Because look, this is one where it comes in the middle. This is one where it comes in the middle, right? Because number 11, now I can guess from this paragraph that we're talking about bilingual and monolingual. Monolingual, I can get that from the paragraph. But what might mess with some people is, where does it talk about they're different? So you see, in the first 3 sentences or the first 2 sentences, they tell you that they're talking about processing. Then they tell you how monolingual and bilingual are the same. And then in the next 3rd sentence, they tell you how it's different. So that information for number 11 was pulled from the 3rd sentence. The exact information for number 11 was pulled from that 3rd sentence, really the last sentence. But from the first 2 sentences, I can tell that this is where I'm going to find information about bilingual and monolingual, right? There would have to be another paragraph that's also talking about monolingual and bilingual for me to have to really go and search specifically where they're talking about difference, right? So I just wanted to point that out to you. Okay? All right, so coming up next, I'm going to be going ahead, moving forward, and going through a full passage application, really showing you the scanning process, showing you how we highlight the keywords first in the question, then do the other questions in the set, and come back to the paragraph location question because we've made it much easier. Okay? Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon. Take care.
Okay, so let's take a look at this example for the paragraph location question. All right, so we're still dealing with our passage we had before. So like I said, this is the paragraph location question right here. It always has language like this. Which paragraph contains the following information? Or sometimes it might say which section contains the following information. So it'll say which paragraph contains the following information, or it'll say which section contains the following information. All right? And like I said, we're not going to do the question first because it doesn't go in order, and so many students do it first, especially if it appears first, like here. Here it appears first as 1, 2, 3, 4. And a lot of times in the past, it would appear first. And students would waste so much time trying to do this question first. All right, but we're not going to do it first. What we would do is we would do the matching question first, and then we would do the diagram question. And then we go back and do the paragraph location question, numbers 1 through 4. Now, as I explained in the strategy, what you want to do is we want to first look at the keywords in the paragraph location question. Like number 1, when I say keywords, right, let me be clear about that. I'm talking about nouns and verbs, subject, object, verb, all right, or subject, verb, object. That's what we're looking for, right? The subject and the object, the nouns and the verbs. So for number 1, we're talking about, we have early timekeeping invention and also something about cold temperatures. Those are the keywords that I would circle or I would underline, okay? For number 2, we're talking about geography, and then other noun, calendar, and then next, farming communities. Those are the words that I would underline or circle: geography, calendar, farming community. Number 3, pendulum clock. And number 4, simultaneous efforts. That means simultaneous means doing things at the same time. Simultaneous efforts of societies and using uniform hours. All right. So those are the keywords that I'm going to circle, and those are the keywords that I'm going to try to keep in mind while I'm doing the other questions. Okay, so now we've circled the keywords, right? You circle the keywords on your paper. If you have the book like I recommend, you circle the keywords on your paper. Now we're going to skip it. We're going to leave it. We're going to leave the paragraph location question, and we would go do the matching question, right? If remember how to do a matching question, we have to look at the word, find the word Babylonians, read the sentence where we see Babylonians, and then see if that matches any of these questions right here, right? So we would go and look at Babylonians, which is right here. It says the Babylonians began to measure time, introducing calendars to coordinate communal activities, to plan the shipment of goods, and in particular to regulate planting and harvesting. So they introduced calendars to coordinate communal activities, plan the shipment of goods, and regulate planting and harvesting. So Babylonians are, let's see, calendar equal months in length, nothing about that. 2 equal halves, no. Cabinet shape, no. calendar to organize public events and work schedules. Yes. So for number 8, we would put A for Babylonians, because organize public events and work schedules. It said they coordinated communal activities, that's organizing public events, and they regulated planting and harvesting and planned the shipment of goods, that's work schedules, right? So for number 8, we would put A. Number, let's go look for Egyptians. Here are Egyptians right here. The Egyptians had formulated a municipal calendar having 12 months of 30 days. All right, 12 months of 30 days. Okay, and we can see that's a match for right here. Civil calendar in which the months were equal in length. So number 5 would be A. Right, now I'm still keeping in mind my keywords for here, for the paragraph location. I still have those in my mind. Geography, farming, calendar, cold temperatures, early timekeeping invention, and uniform hours, simultaneous efforts. I still have those in my mind. Okay. Next, I'm looking at the Greeks. Here are the Greeks right here. Temporal hours, which were first adopted by the Greeks. That doesn't match anything. Divided into 2 equal halves, no. Develop a new cabinet shape for the timekeeper, no. So Greeks doesn't match anything. English. Here's England right here. England is a substitute for English. The early, in paragraph F, where it says England, the earliest recorded weight-driven mechanical clock was built in 1283 in Bedfordshire in England. The revolutionary aspect of this new timekeeper. Okay, so we see that one. We see that England is a match for develop a new cabinet shape for a type of timekeeper. So number 7 would be England. Okay, and also when I was in this paragraph, about England, right? When I was in this paragraph about England, okay, there's England right there. Yes, I see something about a pendulum clock. Right, I see something about a pendulum clock right here. Something about a pendulum clock. Right, when I was looking at that paragraph about England, that jumped out to me. So that means that number 3 is F. All right, the description of the origins of the pendulum clock. That's paragraph F. All right. Now I'm still doing my matching question. I'm down to the Germans and the French. All right, and I saw Germany as I was scanning through it. Oh, there it is. Paragraph E. Paragraph E. There's Germany. There's French. All right, so the sentence says, Italian hours begin at sunset, Babylonian hours at sunrise, astronomical hours at midday, and great clock hours used for some large public clocks in Germany at midnight. Eventually, these were superseded by small clock or French hours, which split the day into 2 12-hour periods, commencing at midnight. Also, what's helpful, this is really important, everyone wants to listen. What's also helpful for a paragraph location question is a lot of times you can look at the topic sentences, the first sentence of a paragraph, and that can give you a good idea if it matches also. Okay? Like here, when we look at the topic sentence of paragraph E, the first sentence, it says the advent of the mechanical clock meant that although it could be adjusted to maintain temporal hours, it was naturally suited to keeping equal ones. Right? Equal means uniform, equal hours. So a lot of times when you're doing a paragraph location question, if you're a little confused, it can be helpful to just to look at your topic sentences of paragraphs, because your topic sentences in general tell you what a paragraph is about. They tell you what a paragraph is about. And so if you look at your topic sentences many times, you can get an idea if that paragraph has the information that you're looking for a paragraph location question. Okay? All right. So that's for that. All right. And then afterwards, we would go down and do the diagram question. And we know this information is in this paragraph that says it has 1670. But when we look at this paragraph that has 1670, right? When we look at this paragraph, there's nothing in here about geography or farming. So we know that we know the information. I'm looking at paragraph G now. There's nothing about farming or nothing about that stuff there in paragraph G. And then so we have number 4. 4 is E. Number 4 is paragraph E with the French and the paragraph about the equal hours. And number 3 is F with the description of the pendulum clock. But that paragraph with 1670 talks about nothing about timekeeping and cold temperatures. Now, some of you might ask, well, how come paragraph E is not the right answer for number 1? Because number 1 talked about early timekeeping invention and also cold temperature, right? This does talk about when you look at paragraph F, you do see the word timekeeper, right? But you don't just pick an answer because you see the same word. There's no mention in this paragraph about cold temperature, and so that's why paragraph F cannot be the right answer for this one. Okay, we need a paragraph that's talking about cold temperature. All right, E, F, G are out. Paragraph D. Here's the word inventor. Right, here's the word inventor. Again, we're looking at the topic sentence. In order to track temporal hours during the day, inventors created sundials, which indicate time by the length or direction of the sun. So the inventors created a sundial. There's our early invention. Now let's see if we see anything in this paragraph about cold temperature. Here we go. Freezing weather. Freezing weather of Northern Europe. So in this paragraph D, we have an invention of the sundial, right? Invention of the sundial, and we have a mention of cold weather, freezing weather. So that means number 1 is paragraph D. All right, so now let's go to the first page and see if I can find something about geography, a calendar, and farming. I'm looking for a paragraph that mentions geography, calendar, and farming. I'm here in paragraph A. Okay, here we are, here in paragraph B. Right here we see the word calendar. I'm in the third sentence. It says, hence the calendars, paragraph B, hence the calendars that were developed at the lower latitudes. Lower latitudes are talking about geography. And then the next sentence, in more northern climate, climate is short for climate. Again, we're talking about geography. And here we're talking about agriculture, which is farming. Okay, so paragraph B is the answer for number 2. All right, that's the answer for number 2. So our correct answers, again, number 1 was D, number 2 was paragraph B, number 3 was paragraph F, and number 4 is paragraph E. Okay, all right, so that's the proper method for doing a paragraph location question. All right. So what we're doing there is we're circling our keywords in the question, then leaving the paragraph location question and doing the other questions in the set, and then coming back to it. The reason why we go and do the other questions in the set is a lot of times they go in order, or they're much easier to do. And while we're doing the other questions, we're able to look at a lot of the passage. And after we've looked at a lot of the passage by doing the other questions, then going back to a paragraph location question makes it much, much easier to do and handle. Much easier to do. Okay? All right, so thanks a lot. And now let's go ahead and look at another example. Talk to you soon.